were downtown Dallas attending a court trial. We had just been let out for recess because the judge was going to be, we were let out 11 o'clock because the judge was going up to the Apparel Mart because he was going to have luncheon with the president, who was going to be in town. So that's why we let out early. So we went down and we went into this little restaurant to have something to eat, and they announced the president was coming down the street in the cavalcade of them, all of his people. So we went out and watched him come by, and as we turned and walked in to go in the door back into the restaurant, we heard shots. And upon hearing the shots, we ran back out again, and as we went to the corner, was that Hudson Street, did you say? What is that street? As we went down the street where he made his turn, across the street, there was a red-haired lady standing there by herself. She had a rust-colored dress on. She was a more mature lady, and she acted kind of dazed. And I went over to her and asked her if she knew what had happened, and she said, yes, the president has been shot. And we went, my husband and I went from there right over to Grassy, and we started looking down across there, and we saw a few people in the ground. We saw a policeman going up over the grassy knoll by the picket fence. And we took down into that area too, just curiosity, I guess. And when we got down there near this cover, we were standing near it, and I looked down.
Manhole cover?
Manhole cover, and I saw this piece of dirt raised up like a ground mold, but it didn't go down. It went in the across the ground, under it. And I bent over, and I traced it for several foot back. And a policeman appeared and traced it with me, and I said, what in the world is this? It's like a ground mole hole, but I've never seen one so long. And he says, that's where a bullet went through. And it traveled quite a ways back, but it did not come out of the ground. I said, well, it didn't come out, and he said, no, it's still in there. And as we turned around to go back to the curb to see where it had come from, there was a nick there in the curb, and just then all the motorcycles came at one time from underneath 183. And they threw up there, and we all ran. We took out of there. Well, somebody said the gunshots came from the depository, and they was afraid there may be somebody up there yet with a gun. So we all took up to the, what do you call that? The Delphi Plaza or something? Whatever that, what do you call that up there by the water? Okay, we all took up there and stood up there and watched it.
Now, would you say in reference to where you saw the molehill, this picture here, would it be further back from that, or can you tell by that blow right there?
Here's where we were standing up behind here. After we'd been down in the grassy knoll, when we would go up behind this area.
So here is, you can tell right on here where we
Houston
were.
Street is where we had to go up to. We were down in here, and then we had to come up to Houston Street.
I'm trying to think where we were here. I'm looking. We
Yeah,
were here, we
here's
were
where
down,
all-
we're here,
Yeah.
down in here.
Yeah, that's
And
where
this
we
came
went down.
across here. There's no way it could have come up from here. This is where we were. Now this was Houston Street, and the lady was standing on the corner. West, that's west and what? Corner of Houston and Maine is where she was.
Okay.
And then in the afternoon, we watched. We stood there and watched until they even announced in the crowd they were looking for a certain type man, about 6 foot with a white shirt. And anyhow, they announced a man they thought who had shot the president, and they were looking for him. Later on that afternoon, after they announced the death of the president, we went back up to the court trial. And because the jury was still out deliberating, we watched from the window across the street here. And as people come in and out, the court building right here, and we watched as they came in and out over here, and they had it under security. And finally, they announced with a loudspeaker they were bringing out the gun that shot him. And a man came out the door with it over his head like this.
And then, did you also say that you saw that they brought out someone in handcuffs?
Oh, this was earlier than after they announced they were looking for someone. This was before the president had died. They did bring some man out in a white shirt and dark pants.
Out of the depository?
Yes, and he had his hands behind his back in handcuffs.
Uh-huh.
And they took him into the court building here. They took him in, I didn't know, I thought you said there was a tunnel or something there, but they brought him out here, brought him across here, and lots of security, and took him in here.
Wow. Would
To
you
the
say,
court building.
what time, could you guess what time that might have been?
No, if that happened at 12 o'clock, and it was 5 after 1 when, it was after he was dead. It would be 1:30, 2 o'clock anyhow, it would have been. I don't know how long we stood down there.
But they definitely brought him out of the depository.
It was after the president was killed, after they announced his death.
And then,
It was about 3 o'clock, I think, when we went back up and they gave the verdict on Bob. And then we left. And when we came down, it was like a ghost town, wasn't it? There was nobody around any place.
and then later on is when you tried to let the FBI know of what you saw.
That wasn't until July when they were trying to pick up evidence. And we thought maybe ours might be a little bit of help.
Did they try, were they very interested in
No,
what you had to say? And
no. It was just kind of matter of fact. We don't care whether you
And
can.
after you gave your statement, what did they try to tell you as an explanation for what you saw?
That it was pieces of bone from the skull of the president. And I told him I did not believe that a bone could do all of that.
You did not tell them that it came from the depository. We told them it came from the Grassy knoll.
That it came-
couldn't have come from the depository.
The angle it was, it couldn't have been from the president's skull.
Well, I think that sounds very logical.
Don't know if I'm missing anything. I knew you can cut that off on the pieces you don't want, so I'm trying to this one.
Well, Mrs. Hartman, thank you very much. I appreciate it.